Chapter 31, Third World Church in a First World Nation. One Sunday, my wife found herself sitting in church desperately praying not to throw up. I know for some people the thought of going to church makes them queasy and slightly nauseous, but since she's the pastor's wife, that's only sometimes the case with her. A street woman, who was a friend of ours, came to church that day for the very first time. She'd been coming to our meals for 3 years but had never been to a church service, even though she called this her church and called me her pastor. She came this day because her on-again, off-again boyfriend was dying. His cancer had come back with a vengeance, and he was lying in a hospital bed that very moment with no hope for recovery. We didn't know during that church service, but he would die that night. Our friend had come to church in such a state of shock, worry, and agitation that we were genuinely concerned for her. She had obviously been out on the street for days and hadn't been able to get cleaned up or change clothes in quite some time. I wasn't sure if she was off again or on again with her last home either. My wife and I had seen her on TV one night in a newscast getting arrested for outstanding warrants while sleeping under one of the freeway bridges. She probably woke up under a bridge that Sunday morning too, I'm guessing by her state. She had come in early to church service while I was rehearsing the band and staggered up to the stage for a hug as she cried on my shoulder. It was all I could do to keep my eyes from watering. The smell radiating off her was so strong. In fact, after she walked away and I resumed practicing the worship, the smell clung to me like a vaporous cloud for the next 10 minutes. All during church, she sat in tears, resting her head on my wife's shoulder and wrapped up in her arms. That's why my wife was praying not to throw up. The stench was overwhelming, and she wanted so bad to be there for our friend and not spoil everything by throwing up. During prayer time, this woman wanted to offer a prayer to God for her boyfriend, and so she half walked and was half carried by my wife to our prayer wall. We put up poster boards on the sides of the sanctuary. At any time during the musical portion of our worship service, anyone can get up out of their seat and go write a prayer request. Other people go around during the service and pray over the prayer wall. We put up 8 to 10 poster boards, and they fill up every 3 weeks or so. Whenever I'm feeling sorry for myself, I often go to the prayer wall and get my bearings back. I always walk away grateful for my life and my family. Thanks for not letting me be successful in my suicide attempt. Please take care of my kids who are in foster care and help me get sober so I can one day see them again. I love them so much. God, please help me stay off meth. I'm so scared and I don't want to live like this anymore. Jesus, please help my friend who's facing eviction because she lost her job when her boyfriend beat her and she couldn't make it into work. These are the kinds of prayers you might read every week on our prayer wall. The prayer wall is usually people's first attempt to reach out to God. They will write prayers long before they ever sing a worship song. On that Sunday, our friend stood for some time before being able to scrawl out a prayer. My wife had to hold her pen hand to get her started in writing. I think it was her very first time trying to reach out to God on behalf of her dying boyfriend. Sometimes our church is like a third world experience. You just need more tithing members to join your church, was the advice we recently received from someone about how to make our church a success. Yeah, we know. But how many Christian housewives do you know who are the middle class of a first world nation would willingly go to a church every week in a third world experience? How many of them do you know who would even potentially be in the position to hold the hand of a street woman whose boyfriend was dying of cancer? How many of them spend their church time desperately praying not to throw up from the proximity of the stench all during the church service? How many churches would have let that lady in? How many would have let her stay? Yeah. We just need more middle-class, first-world people who would willingly go to a third-world church every week to come on down and hang out with us. Should be no problem. I don't doubt for an instant, though, that Jesus would hug and hold the smelliest of us during a time of crisis or pain. It never crossed my wife's mind that there might be an alternative action, like simply avoiding the contact with a woman who was desperate for hope and love. That was never a thought by anyone, to ask her to leave. Jesus wouldn't. At our last board meeting, the discussion took place about the smell of people coming to the adult Sunday morning classes. It's getting cold, so we can't open the windows anymore. Can you imagine little old ladies sitting next to homeless people who smell of the street while helping them find verses in unfamiliar pages of the Bible? We have that. The board decided we should buy several sets of brand new sweatsuits or running warm-ups to offer people who've been on the street too long. Seems like you've had a rough week, we would say to them. I can tell you've been through a hard and difficult time because the street's still on you. Would you like a fresh change of brand new clothes this morning? You can use the restrooms to wash down and change and get a new start today. There's even a bag for your current clothes until you get a chance to wash them. If we had the money, we would convert the old unused men's restroom downstairs to showers. Wouldn't that be a nice touch? Get cleaned up, wash that suffering, pain, and hardship off you. Change into this new stuff and come worship Jesus with us. Everybody's welcome. People are accepted and lives are changed, but it takes extra effort, will, patience, and endurance, and cost. Third World Church in America must think differently than First World Church. Most First World people would prefer a church service where none of these things are even a consideration. But where is Jesus in our suffering world to be seen today? Who would Jesus hang out with, and what personal price would he pay to be there? In each moment, we are all deciding where and how we will show Jesus to the world around us. And sometimes we even get it right.